Ketzer Beis Inyan Ibor Yud Beis Chodashim Vibor Design Chodashim. So we talked about the idea of the pregnancy of 12 months and the pregnancy of 7 months, Eliyahu Moshe, and how this corresponds with the pregnancy of Eliyahu and Moshe, Tikkun HaKelim v'Tikkun HaPnimim, that this is a fixing of the vessels or a fixing of the inner. V'yesh laher minyan kiyas yamsuf liyud beis gzorim. We can awaken how this connects to the concept of splitting the sea into 12 parts, and how in the time to come he will divide it into seven rivers. Now in order to draw down nullification of the existence, you have to have this coming down from a very high place. Like it's explained in Tanya, from the idea of that the action of tzedakah is peace. And like the concept of that anyone who toils in Torah places peace in the upper realms and the lower realms. That you should draw down and spread out this peace into the bad inclination, that it should be nullified and subjugated to the good inclination of Nefesh Elokis and the divine soul. That in order to accomplish that bittul, you have to draw down from the level that he makes peace in his height. This is also the concept of the peace that was in the Teva of Noach, that the wolf lies with the lamb and so forth, Shasa Yamim, and that how it was 365 days, like the idea of draw down higher days into lower days, Ad Kana Ketzer, that's the end of the Ketzer. V'hinei shlahavin b'mashikos of li'il shezeh she'yishave b'bechinas mayim bechinas rakia zeu hagshama chulu. Now we need to understand this that was explained before is that in order to create from the concept of water the concept of the firmament, so which is a physicalization, zeu hagshama chulu, so to get from the Ohr to the mayim to the rakia. Like it's brought in the Siddur, that it says praise Kel in his holiness, praise him in his rakia, his strength. And in the Kutei Torah, in the Mamer, how the sea saw and ran. Zehu she's have bechinas ein datzilus. That's in order so that it should be created from the concept of not of atzilus. The yos bria yesh ma'ayin, to have a creation of something from nothing. So we're talking about the Rakiyat Vari Bim Hamashal Enukain. Now in the allegory, it's not like this. Mashir Nishavim Atipa Shel Aveim Vlad. That this that is created is formed from the drop of the father and the mother, a child, Beramachi Varim, composed of 248 limbs. Zeushino Iloi Muflag. This is a change to a great change in comparison to the drop. And like our sages said, Damain Basa Mitipas Rucha, know where you came from a fetid drop. That now this fetid drop cannot be compared. Av Sheish Bakoach Avlad, even though it has the strength to form a child, in comparison to a man, a person, which is the idea of let's create man in our image. B'tselem Elokim, in the likeness of Hashem, the likeness of Elohim. V'gam be'emes amru Razal, and also in truth our sages said, Gimel shutfim ba'adam, that there's 3 partners in man, av mazri alov and chulu, that the father gives off the whiteness of the seed and so forth. V'HaKadosh Baruch Hu nosin bo neshama, and the Holy One, blessed be He, gives in him the soul. Because in him shechach hashanasa mati paguf chulu, and all of this is after the drop becomes the body and so forth. And similarly, this, that the earth and the garden will grow from the planting of produce, and the seed, the essence and being of the fruits of the produce is much greater in an awesome way, much higher than the essence and being of the seed that's planted, and all of the like of this. And that all of this is because the source of the life of the fruits of the produce comes not from the seed, but from the strength of growth that's in the earth. That includes in it the life of all of the fruits. And the seeds that are sown in the earth are only like this sort of arousal from below, which is like the idea of the arousal of the feminine waters. That's the end of the quote. Perhaps that's the quote from the Siddur. That in the end, the concept of the drop is incomparable to the man that it forms, and you have to have this hamshacha from above in order to actually accomplish this. You actually are drawing down from even higher than that. And so too in Igeres HaKodesh and letter 8, where it talks about sowing tzedakah. As look what's brought in the Torah Ohr, the Mamer about the coming will take root. And so forth. It also brings the mashal of planting and sprouting and so forth. And in the explanation of the Mamer of that a woman who fears Hashem is the praiseworthy one. So too you have this idea in Bina in comparison to Chachma, concerning the idea of it is Bina, which is Atik, which is higher than wisdom and so forth. Look in Torah and Lech Lecha. Where it talks about the idea of who. And look what it's brought in. In Tanya, in Iuvechayoy, Shumishum denotes Chilasum Besof and Davka, that why do you have this specifically in the end, this greatening of the offspring more than the seed that's sown into it? It's because the end is tied into, the beginning is tied into the end specifically. That the glimmer of the crown shines into the kingship of Malchus. And that's why it's called the crown of Malchus. Because the crown only goes to the king, that in Malchus is revealed the strength of the infinite light to create something from nothing and so forth. Especially because the souls are created from it, from Malchus, from the concept of the pregnancy, like we talked about here. ועין שם בסוף, שזהו גם כן שורש עניין כוח הצומח שבארץ, להצמיח יש מים כולו. Look over there in that, in Yuvichayu in the end, where it talks about how this is also the concept of the strength of growth that's in the ground to grow something from nothing. Im kain, Mikol Zeh Mevor. If so, from all this, it's clear. Sheish behaisha koach lahavus es avlad, yoser me behaish, that the woman has the strength to create the child more than the man. So the drop from the man is incomparable to the child, that it's specifically to the woman, or the feminine aspect, where you have the keser and revealed into malchus to actually create the child. Sha'ish rak mazriya zera, that the man only sows the seed, shu ke'erech hagarin, which is compared to the seed in the ground, v'nikra tipas shrucha kanal, and it's called the fetid drop, like we said. V'hi osemizeh adam tzelem elokim, and she forms from this, a man in the image of Elokim, in the likeness of Elokim. V'chein koach haaretz shbais havamagarin ilan, so too in the strength of the earth, that in it will be created from the seed a tree. V'im kein al kochach tzarich lomar tzarich lios mein ze gam ken lamayla b'ziv gzundat tzilos. We must say that there's a likeness of this idea in the union of Za and Nukva of Atzilos, Asher Mashem Bechinas Ohr Hatorah Tzadik Yisod Olam Yisavu Mizeh Haneshamos Bisod Malchus, that from the light that's sown of the Tzadik of Yisod of the world, from the sphere of Yisod, we should create from this souls in the Yisod of Malchus of Atzilus. This is a tremendous greatness that comes from being specifically from Malchus, that's much greater than the light that's of Yisod that comes into Malchus. It's a change, so to speak, to the light of Yisod in a great way. And from all this, you'll understand why the allegory for this in Shir Hashirim is to a union of a male and female, because it's able to draw down this higher light. And so too in Zohar and all of the books of the Kabbalists. That they asked the question, why was this idea not compared to a more spiritual thing, like a rabbi and a student of Fimashin Zbor Asi Shapir? And according to what we explained, it makes sense, because in an actual physical union of a male and a female, the female gives a great portion and a big portion into this birth. Specifically in that kind of union, not only is the feminine draw down the higher level, like Malchus does, but also you have this idea of that the Holy One, blessed be He, is a partner with the mother and the father, and gives in the soul. Which is not the case with the idea of the flow of the teacher to the student. It's not comparable to this at all. Because even though we said, it's said on the verse, iron and iron together, any man and his friend together, facing each other, that through the student the teacher becomes sharper. So there is a concept of that the student gives, the receiver is giving to the receiver, the receiver is giving to the giver. So to the statement that I've learned from my students more than all, Im kol zeh enu berach hanal, still incomparable to the. So there is a certain parallel to this idea in the Rav and Talmud, but nonetheless you cannot compare it to the actual union of male and female, and the where the greatness of that the female gives is be'ein aroch, to have a vlad and to draw, and that you also get hamshacha from above within a shama. Because you've an inyan milas Tzion b'medrash Rabbah rish Parshas kadoshim, and from this you can understand the greatness of the concept of Tzion that's in Medrash Rabbah kadoshim shekol mini shefa bracha nimshach mitzion chulu ein sham, that all kinds of flow and blessing come from Tzion, because the concept of Tzion is the feminine yesod, and where you're having which is a concept of giving birth to a child. And from all this you can understand also the concept of Noach and the Teva, that in order to establish the world from Noach and his sons, so it's specifically through uniting in the Teva, which is this concept of Yesod Abba and Yesod Ima, or Yesod Malchus. Ketzer Gimel. And a third Ketzer, Sheish notes, Chilas and Besof and Dafka, that you have this the beginning tied into the end specifically, V'haras HaKeser Meir B'Malchus Dafka, and the light of Keser shines into Malchus specifically. V'ayin Mizeh Gam Ken B'Biori Hazor, Reish Parshas Bereishis, B'Dibur HaMaschil Kishoshana Ben HaChochim. And look what's brought in the explanations of Zohar about like a rose amongst the thorns, which is the concept of Malchus in Bia, or something like that. And therefore, specifically, the woman has the ability to create from the fetid drop, a child that's in Tzelem Elokim. So too it is in the strength of the earth to grow from a seed a tree full of fruits. As is known, that man is a tree in the field. If so, similarly you have this idea of the concept of the creation of the souls from the light that's sown to the tzaddik. And this is also the concept of the excellent Tzion, or the Tzion that's Mitzuyan, which is the Holy of Holies. The Tzion of Tzion, I guess. And from this you can also understand the idea of Noach and the Teva, which is the concept of this pregnancy, the 12 months and so forth. Yisod Ima with Yisod Abba. Ad Kana Kitzer. That's the end of the Kitzer. Man Teva Aron Habris. So what's this Teva? It's the Ark of the Covenant. Like we said, like he brought, that it's the Tzion Kodesh HaKadashim. So it's the Teva then is that has the Luchos in Ohr Hatorah Bereishis, Daf Lamed Gimel, so from Amud Beis Pasuk Ini Aron Habris. Here it says use the Aron Habris, Adon Kol Haaretz, and so forth. Vayin Bezoar Chelik Beis, Vayakel Daf Reshud Dalet Amud Beis Pasuk Vayisem Baron. Vayas B'Tzalel Aaron, and look in Zohar, Vayakel, where it talks about that he placed it in the Aaron, and B'Tzalel made the Aaron, V'Noach V'Tevel Sata, Hachava, and Noach, and the Tevel below is like this, Yegavna Dalaela, Noach Ksiv Bebris. So too it is above. By Noach it says the covenant, like it says, I'm going to fulfill my covenant with you. So if the Teva is the Aaron, the Noach is the Bris. Until he did not have this covenant, he did not go into the Teva. Like it says in the Pasuk, I'm going to fulfill my covenant with you. And you'll come into the Teva. So it's the Aron HaBris then, V'chedein hava tevas Aron HaBris, and then it became the teva of the Ark of the Covenant. We begin the high, and both are in English are translated as Ark. Noah's Ark and the Ark of the Covenant. Begin the high bris la'ela hava le'elahu, and because this covenant is above, Avi Toldos has children as offspring. Kach kegavna da Noach lesata, so to Noach below, you Avi Toldos has offspring. Kamada samni sela Toldos Noach, like it says that these are the offspring of Noach. That's the idea of the Parsha, the offspring of Noach. And just like above, the Aron HaBris has light and so forth. Adkan. And then the quote from the Zohar Kadosh, Perush, Aron HaBris, Ubichinas Kli, Lekabel B'soch HaBris. So that is to say that the Ark of the covenant is a vessel to receive into it the bris, which is Noach K'mo HaAron Shaya B'chinas Kli LeBris, just like the Ark of the Luchos, which is a vessel for the covenant, that the Luchos were called the tablets of the covenant and so forth. As is known, so you had there was the parallel to Noach was the Luchos Sabris. Now there's two explanations in this. Aleph Malchus, that's Yilus, either this idea of the Teva is Malchus of Atzilus, which is the vessel to receive the Yisod of the masculine aspect of Ziranpin, Bris, that's called Bris, but that's in particular. Is in the second explanation, Malchus to Bina, that it's in the feminine aspect of Bina above, that it's this vessel to receive to receive into it the concept of the foundation of the Father.